The Barker boys were granted a fresh slate, but no improvements were made in their conduct. If anything, the juvenile mischief perpetrated by the brothers continued to escalate, and they soon graduated from misguided troublemakers to full-fledged petty criminals. In 1910, Herman and Lloyd, then 16 and 14 respectively, founded a small youth gang of their own, marking an unofficial start to the Ma Barker gang. The teenage thugs picked pockets, extorted money from defenseless shopkeepers, and used crowbars to break into boutiques, restaurants, and offices, and looted these establishments dry. Even when the boys were caught red-handed, they received a little more than a slap on the wrist, which they owed to Ma's theatrical performances and uncompromising bargaining sessions at the sheriff's office, as well as the corruption or incompetence of local law enforcement. Ma's manipulative, arm-twisting skills were apparently so effective that she once convinced the authorities to drop the robbery charges leveled against Herman and talked them into releasing him into her custody, even after he had run over a child in his getaway car. Eventually, the authorities began to turn a blind eye to the Barker's boys' crimes so as to spare themselves an encounter with their indefatigable defender. Whether George approved of his son's activities remains a matter of debate. FBI reports asserted that George had no qualms about his son's misdeeds and profited from their spoils unstintingly, but there's little evidence to support this claim. In other accounts, George was an upstanding but spineless individual who was appalled by the boys' misbehavior and exerted every effort to punish them, only to be thwarted by his wife, who reportedly berated him into submission. Ma also took a proactive approach when it came to defending her boys by threatening to raise hell with those who dared sully their name. When Herman was accused of swiping the wallets of the deacons at their local church, she freshened up her curls, slipped on her finest Sunday dress, seized her son by the collar, and hauled him into the office of the Jasper County judge. She kicked off her performance with the struggling mother routine in the hopes of appealing to the judge's compassion. This was no more than a silly misunderstanding, she insisted. The boys were hyperactive, and at times they could be high-strung and mischievous, but deep down they were good boys and were incapable of such wanton behavior, especially in the house of God. When the jaded judge showed no interest in entertaining her excuses, Ma puffed out her chest and cranked up the volume. The scowling mother shook her finger at the judge, demanded concrete proof, and launched into a strident tirade, accusing the authorities of incompetence and casting her sons as scapegoats. Naturally, the judge took great offense to these allegations, and when Ma realized that she had aggravated him, she turned on the waterworks. She apologized profusely on behalf of her son, and with a heaving chest and tear-stained cheeks, she implored the judge to withdraw the charges just this once and vowed to discipline him as soon as they returned home. Maddened by Ma's audacious and mercurial charade, the judge caved in and freed Herman. Ignorant of the concept of comeuppance, the Barker boys continued on with their crime sprees, which only worsened with time. In 1915, shortly after Herman was arrested yet again for grand theft auto, the family moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, which had recently been crowned the oil capital of the world. However, George's attempts to secure a steady, well-paying job were once more unsuccessful. He settled for a minimum wage, labor-intensive post at the railroads, and the family of 6 continued to flounder in poverty, shacking up in a cramped 2-room cottage devoid of electricity and running water.